button. We're going to talk about email today, and I'm very thankful we've got a few contributors who are going to be kind of bouncing in, and if there's anything that any topics that as we're covering, I'm at each topic, I'm just going to stop, and if anyone has anything that they would like to kind of chime in on that particular topic, whether it's questions or things that they utilize, or we'll get to the end and we'll kind of do um, what's our pardon the interruption TV show. We'll do a rapid fire at the end if we don't get to everything, and we'll just put on the list quick, and just leave room for just any general tips that people have, questions that people have. But yeah, I'm appreciative of those that are going to be kind of sharing today, and I'll share a little bit as well, and just look forward to talking about email. I think we have like three major ways. I know there are others, but three major ways that we communicate. It's via telephone, text message, and email. And I think all three are all very effective. I think all are very useful. I am in the camp that believes if you eliminate one of the three, you're going to be much less productive. I think all three work together synergistically. I know some people have said, or I've heard them say, email's dead or phone's dead, or it's less effective. And I find that all three to be effective. And I utilize all three in a pretty high amount of volume, and find that they all work together really well, because some people just respond differently to different ways of communication. Some are great via text, some are better via email, telephone. It's all just a little bit different. So, but today I'm just going to focus exclusively on emails. The thing with emails, this kind of list that I sent out, I was taught this by a mentor of mine who put us through actual email training years ago, a couple decades ago. And so this was kind of a document that I had from 2 decades ago, which I still think holds true, and some of these tips. And personally, I do a lot of text messaging, do a lot of calling, but legit non-spam emails between sent and receive, I'm about 1,000 a day. So I have to be ultra efficient with my email, because if I'm not, then I'm going to get lost and be much less effective. So I have to utilize these things in order to really stay on top of it. And I think there's a full other roundtable that we can do on proper text messaging, proper phone. And there's like another email roundtable we could do on etiquette, on phone etiquette, or excuse me, on email etiquette, and how to craft emails, things to say, things not to say. And that's not what this is. This is all about time or email management. And I think that's another roundtable that we could specifically focus on, would be just email etiquette as well too. But I put in an acronym that mentor who I was talking about kind of taught me, and it was called OTEP, Organized Time Management, Efficiency, Production, and Profit. And basically, what it means is that if you're doing a higher volume of emails, which in recruiting you do, the more organized you are. And that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about today, and a lot of what our presenters are going to be talking about is being more organized in your email. The more organized you are in your email, the greater time management you have, the greater you can manage your time. And when you are able to manage your time better, you have more time to do other things that, are going to lead to the money. And so the better you're able to manage your time, the more efficient and effective you are. And the more efficient and effective you are, it leads to greater productivity and profits. So I really do believe a lot of these bullet points are very helpful in email. I know email can be very individual, where everyone handles their email a little bit differently, and how they handle inboxes, folders, all of that good stuff. So this doesn't mean that this is for everyone. This just means that this is what I utilize. I think this is effective for me. And if, one or two of these things are helpful to you, that's great. The first point, and I'll cover some of these, and then we're going to get into Logan's going to share some stuff. Tom, B, Britt, and then anyone else that wants to jump in, please. I'm going to stop at each bullet point, And anyone that wants to jump in or make some comments on it, please do. The first bullet point that I have, and then in a little bit, I'm going to do some screen sharing too. I'm going to share something briefly for myself, and then B has some things that she wants to share. Britt, I don't. Britt, did you send out an email yet to the company on the things that you were going to share?
Not yet. I was going to send it out while I'm talking about it so you guys can just take a
Perfect.
look.
Perfect. And then Britt's going to send out an email to everyone, just kind of, that everyone can open that up individually, so they can kind of follow along with what she's going to talk about. Um, but the first thing I want is the first bullet point is to only answer what's immediate, to allocate a specific time to answer more lengthy emails. So I think a lot of it is there's a lot of emails that we have to answer quick responses. I think some of the email training I did years ago, they're like, allocate dedicated time to answer emails and don't answer emails. Don't have your email pulled up constantly. And in our business, I don't find that to be true, because there's things that we have to constantly answer quick, ultra quick, lightning quick responses to things that have to be answered right away. And I'm not going to go down that entire list, but I do think there's things that have to be answered immediately and others that could be, maybe allocated towards later in the day, that evening, the following morning. There's so many things that could be answered later on, and there's things that have to be answered immediately. And I think sometimes if you're having to answer the more lengthy emails, and that is diverting your attention from the things that need to be answered immediately, I think that can be a drawback at times. So I think the things that need to be answered immediately, the things that are in your email, and I think that's why we're going to talk about being more organized with your email. It allows you to keep those immediate things right in front of your eyes, to answer them immediately, and then get to the second bullet point of hit that delete button. And I know not everyone does that, but that's the way I do it. It's, once I have an email that gets answered, it gets answered immediately. Things that have to be answered right there on the spot that are immediate, I'll hit delete and I'll delete it immediately just to get it out of my inbox so I'm not looking at it. So I'm constantly trying to dwindle down that, those emails. So that's the two first, bullet points that I wanted to cover, is to only answer what's immediate, to allocate specific times or to save them. It can be flagged, it can be put into a folder that we're going to be talking about. It could be sending yourself a reminder. So many different ways that you can answer the more lengthy emails at a later time. But I think having a plan in place for when you're going to answer those emails and answering the ones that are immediate, I think are very important. So, moving on before moving on to our next bullet point, does anyone have any, feedback on that, questions on that, anything that they've experienced with what I mentioned there that they wanted to discuss?
Do you want to discuss what you would consider an immediate response email? Like what are some categories that you feel like require that and some that maybe don't?
Yeah, one that comes to mind immediately would be, hey, this candidate is supposed to be on a call. They're not on a call. Phone call scheduled for 10 o'clock, 10:02. Candidate's not on the call. What's going on? Well, if I'm doing something else, that can't wait. I'm not going to email the candidate. I'm going to obviously, call the candidate, text the candidate, hey, where are you? That's one that immediately comes to mind. You know, one that can wait is, um, you know, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. Trying to think if anyone else can think of one that's more lengthy, like, uh,
Yeah, I
Name
got one.
clears?
I got one. Name clearing
yeah,
emails. Name clearing
Yeah.
emails for yourself and your colleagues are immediate responses.
yeah,
Drop everything, get it sent out. You can miss a placement by a minute in this business just because your stake was claimed 60 seconds later. So those are in my opinion in our business. One thing I love about this business, you guys, is we don't waste anything. Like i.e., we don't create any material waste. We're very good for the environment. Um, we're very gentle on the earth, right? And in this case, oh my gosh, I forgot where I was going with this, but nonetheless, name clearing emails got to be answered right away, and That's what it was. It was that I can't remember. It'll come back to me in a few minutes. But name clearing emails. Let's do those. I'll get back with that thought. It was a really good thought.
Yeah, the one that could take more time that I was just thinking about would be if you're, you had a thoughtful client response, or, something that, problem issue came up, and let's say you have a first thought like, okay, I need to, this is my thought, but maybe I need to take a little bit more time to think about how I'm going to respond to this to make sure that this is coming across properly. Whether it's responding to a complex candidate question or client question, complaint, something like that. I'm not going to just send the first thing that comes to mind. I'm going to maybe be clear-headed when I answer it and really look at my email closely to make sure it's how I want it to be, to be worded. That would be an example, Dave, where I'd be like, yeah, I gotta maybe save this for a later time when I can make sure this email is received well. And yeah, like Jerry said, name clearing emails, um, absolutely, that should be immediate. That's a drop everything, in my opinion. Anyone else have any thoughts on what they would consider to be like an immediate, like this has to go out, or this can wait type of email?
I feel like CV submittals can wait because they're already cleared. Send outs, sorry. That's what I
Yeah.
meant to say.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is that, I think there's an element of potentially blocking out time for those. We just talked about how time sensitive clearances are. So let's say you've got, 10 jobs loaded up for a doc. You want to get all of them cleared. I know this, you guys might be like, well, this isn't going to happen. But if you start sending clearances, you get a clear back right away. You might have to stop. Maybe it takes you 10, 15 minutes to get the send out, whatever. Keep running through with those clearances. Those are things that can wait a little bit. At the same time, I'm not saying have an extreme delay in between when you've got that clearance and you send the CV. I would say try to do it within an hour or two at most, especially if it's with a colleague and their client's expecting it right away. You never know when you can get it to them early, and maybe that allows them to take it to a meeting with the decision makers and say, hey, we want to call this person, versus maybe it needs to wait a day or two now because there's not a meeting right away. Something to consider.
If I've had momentum with a client or prospective client regarding a CFA and maybe any edits or negotiating, I kind of want to keep that going. So those emails become pretty important.
And Jordan, that would be like more of an immediate thing, like.
I think so. I don't know, personal opinion, but if you're going back and forth on, amending a CFA and getting that locked in for a new client or whatnot, I kind of keep things moving.
I think with like new candidates and new clients, I think the quicker I respond, the better. If that precedence has been set that they can expect to get a timely response from me, if I have a really good established relationship, then maybe I might pause just momentarily. But I think for new clients, I'm trying to develop a relationship with new candidates. I want them to know I'm going to be super timely. So I think that might not be drop everything, I'm going to respond this moment, because I think it's situational based on what the email is. But new folks, I'm definitely doing my best to respond to as quickly as possible.
Mine kind of goes in hand with that of, yeah, if you get any communication that comes in, especially a doc you've been trying to get a hold of for 2 weeks, and they're like, I can speak now. It's like, goodbye, world. You focus on that, or at least as soon as you have someone hooked, that is really difficult to be hooked, kind of thing.
I think another thing too, like immediate responses, of if I have someone who, let's say, is hard to reach, clients, candidates, and I have their attention at that moment, that is for me a drop everything at that point, because I'm like, their attention might get diverted. They might be doing something else, let's say 5-10 minutes from now. And if I don't have anything necessarily going on at that moment, and I get in, and I'll give you an example on something that happened this morning. But if I have their ear at that moment, they're getting a response from me because I know they're going to see it, and I can get done whatever that needs to get done at that moment. Because if I wait 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, the chances of them then getting diverted and their attention being elsewhere, them doing something else is much higher. And maybe that action that I can get completed at that moment might take hours or days if I don't get them right there. You know, the example that I had was this morning. We've been trying to get Kim Franklin and I have been trying to get um, a telephone call set up for a candidate, you know, for weeks, and we can't get the client to respond. And candidate's pretty responsive, but all of a sudden, you know, client answers this morning. And so it's like we've been trying to get this phone call set up for weeks. We finally get the client to respond. I'm not waiting. You know, immediately I'm reaching out to the candidate. Hey, here's the times that they're available. Luckily, candidate was available. Email or text me back immediately. And that's kind of what I was talking about before. It's like we're talking about email, but I knew the candidate was most responsive via text message. So I sent a text message to the candidate. They respond back immediately. I get an email to Kim immediately. Here's the times that they're available. Get the phone call set up, because we wanted it to be, you know, that was an example where, hey, we've waited this for weeks. We got their ear. Let's get it set up right now. So that to me was a drop everything moment to get that done immediately. Before we move on, anyone else have any immediate, you know, examples or things that they would wait on? Okay, cool. Well, yeah. So I would just say identify, don't treat all emails equally. Identify which things are important to respond to immediate, do those things, and have a system in place for when you can save the things that need, you know, greater attention. The next bullet point is using templates for quicker response, or you know, for quicker responses, and to make sure to customize and tweak those templates. So I think, you know, Logan here is going to talk in just a minute about signatures, and he may then cover templates. I know, like, I'm not going to share my screen a lot, because, and the reason being is I use Mac. The majority of you guys who use Outlook, so I don't want my example to be for your guys' example, because mine's just going to look different. And so, like, for instance, I know in Outlook there's a lot of ways that you can use templates. I don't use templates through MacMail. I have a separate document that I use. It's an entire document that has all my templates saved. But you know, the heart of what I'm trying to say is that if you use templates for basic things that are repeatable, you know, you can get your emails out a lot quicker and still have really good content you're sending out. But I think the other point is you have to make sure that a lot of those templates can be customized, you know, to make it look to make sure it looks personalized, you know, to who you're sending it to. So there's a lot of, I think, you know, there's a lot of different templates that you can save for different scenarios and situations, whether it's, you know, leaving messages after, or, you know, sending an email after leaving a message. There's just so many different scenarios. So what I recommend, whether it's through Outlook, whether it's a document, is that you know, save that header to what that template is used for, and then you know, that way when you need to use a certain template, it's already saved. You can just go right to that template, and not just copy and paste it, but paste it and then maybe tweak it. Spend a few seconds to tweak it based on who you're sending it to. That way it looks customizable. So, Logan, I'm going to turn it over to you, because I know that you wanted to talk about signatures, and I would assume maybe templates would go into that. So I'm going to turn
Yeah,
it over to you,
absolutely.
and then Logan, whenever you want me to share that screen for what you sent to me, just let me know and
Mhm.
I'll do that.
Well, yeah, as I say, I'm going to keep it pretty brief here. If you want to go ahead and share it, I can just kind of point this out. It's something that I started doing really early on in this position. Is, you know, a lot of the emails that we do are very repetitive, and so obviously time is one of the most precious aspects of this job. So I was always trying to think of, how do I save myself time to where I can spend that time or make a process quicker, you know, so I can spend that time elsewhere, you know, procuring new things. And signatures was one that I early on just really kind of dove into. To where, there we go. Let me see this.
Are you able to see,
Or yeah,
Logan?
Yeah, can you zoom in or maybe blow the image up a little bit?
Yeah, let me see if I can. There.
Yeah.
Is that better? That's
Yeah, that's cool. That's fine. I was say
okay.
I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with signatures, but what I would do is save anything that I found myself repeating often, or anything that I wanted quick access to for responses, or even like word tracks that I was in a unique situation and this word track worked specifically for this step or this process. I would save that. Um, in a signature. That way, if I ever came across that scenario again, I've got quick and easy access to it to where I can click on that signature. It's going to pull up what I've already got. Similar to templates, I'm going to tweak it and adjust it to whatever, the client or the candidate, whatever the case is. But yeah, I used to have, I've got a new computer now, so I haven't been able to transfer all of my signatures over from Outlook, but the ones I do have, I took a screenshot there for you, just so you can kind of see that, I've got name clearance follow-ups in there, send out templates, just anything that we are consistently doing on a daily basis in this role, to where if I can add it there, speed up my time, that was the goal of it. So that's all I got. I was gonna say, I just wanted to point it out. I think it's a valuable tool for people to incorporate for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, template signatures. If you're not using them, use them. If you need help and assistance on, how to use them or, what to use, just let me, your managers know, and definitely we can share that because it's a big thing for the thing I was talking about, time management, allowing you to have greater time management and allow you to be more effective, efficient, and do more volume and still do a high quality caliber work. So I think that templates are extremely important. So and signatures.
Yeah, absolutely. And some folks I know that they create a template Word document where they've got anything and everything on it, to where they can hop into it, hit Control Find, search whatever you need to, and then go from there. So anything you can do to speed things up is always a benefit in this job.
The next subject we're going to get
Hey,
into,
Jeremiah, I'm sorry, man. Let me just jump in
please,
real quick. And
please,
I just
yeah,
want to
please.
make sure everyone knows that there are templates on Useful Links. If you guys go to Useful Links up on the home tab there and scroll down to Useful Links, there's a couple of documents with email templates there that you guys can peruse that we've put together. I know a lot of these, Jeremiah did a lot of work on these too, but there's one for email only candidates that you get. They don't have any other contact info. There's pre and post interview email templates there. So I just want to point that out to you guys to check out Useful Links. There are a couple of good email template documents there, along with tons of other awesome documents that if you guys haven't looked at them all, you should definitely take some time to go through those. So thanks, Jerry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
all right. I have something to add too. So, Lindsay, this might be what you were talking about, but there's something in Outlook called Quick Parts. So you can actually save text in Quick Parts, and when you do that, it will let you add more than one at a time. Whereas with Signature, if I go to pick one, it's going to replace whatever signature I had in there last. So if I wanted to keep that signature, I'll have to first copy it, then enter my next one, then paste the last one I had in there if I want more than one of those in at a time. Quick Parts actually allows you to add more than one without deleting the previous one. I've got a little
Can
thing
you
I
show
can
us how
send
to
in.
do that? Quick parts?
Yeah, actually, let me, I'm going to send this over in,
I know this is probably very easily Googleable, which I can do that too, but those
I just
words,
sent it
quick
over
parts,
in
I don't know how to do that.
the night call group chat.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking about like if you have your email typed up, you can just go to File, Save, and save as a template, and it'll save it on your desktop. You double click it, it opens, replace what you need to, send. So if you have any email open, just go to File, Save as template.
So yeah, guys, I'm gonna keep this rolling. So yeah, thanks, Dave, for pointing that out. Yeah, the Useful Link stuff is awesome. I looked at that and I appreciate you reminding us of that. And then yeah, Ashley and Lindsay, if you guys want to share any of that, along with the group, you can, send an email out with some screenshots or something. That would be anything you can contribute on that would be great. But no, I just want to keep this moving along. The next thing I want to get to, I think, is hugely important for organization and time management is folders. We're going to talk about folders, categories, and setting up rules. And this is where we're going to be handing this over to Tom, B, and Britton here in a second. But this is one that I use a ton to keep super organized, is to having multiple folders, multiple subfolders. I'm just going to share my screen here really, really quick. And I'm just going to, before I do that, I'm just going to kind of keep it, see if I can. Give me just a moment. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to expand this a little bit further. This is not what it normally looks like, but just to give you an idea. Okay, so this is, how my kind of email looks, and, I have my personal email up here, but then I have PR, and then I have these multiple subfolders, and I have one that, is just utilized for dollars, which is placements, invoices, collections, all of that. So I can, quickly look at invoices, collections, placements, that kind of stuff. I have a folder just for candidates where I kind of look at, I store all the contracts, store all the interviews, anything miscellaneous wise for quick reference. These are things that are emails that aren't going to be deleted, things that I need to hold on to, things I need to reference. And in a moment, I'm going to talk about something that Jerry and Ian talked to me about too, on how they utilize this as well. I have one for clients where I have interviews that are set up, job details, things specifically for my own and exclusive clients, references that I'm checking on. Then I have a corporate folder for just anything internally, separate folders for each of the managers that I need to save documents. Mailers that, like I have done that I've saved, for candidates that I need to reference back. But probably the biggest folder that I utilize most is that this is probably my neurotic ACD or OCD nature, but I like a clean inbox. I like my inbox to be clean. I like it to be void of much content. So I have a holding folder and then I have one that's subfolder for reference, and there's a lot of things under that reference folder. But the main one is this holding folder that I use. And so for me personally, in that holding folder, what I'm doing is I want my inbox clean. By the end of the day, personally, I like, I'm going to step away from my desk with nothing in my inbox. But there's things that have to be addressed at a later time, things I'm not going to get to at this moment, things that could be answered later, tomorrow morning, whenever that is, or things that I'm waiting for information on. Let's say I've got emails that have to be answered, but I don't have the information to answer the emails because I'm waiting to hear from a client, candidate, whatever it may be. That goes into my holding folder. And that goes in there, and my goal is to eliminate that holding folder as quickly as possible. I want to get to the end of the week and have nothing in my holding folder, because that means that all tasks that needed to be pushed off to a later time have been answered by the end of the week. Right now, I think I'm sitting at 5 in my holding folder, and by the end of the day, I'm going to do my best to get those all taken care of. But my thing is, I like a clean inbox. I like my inbox constantly striving to have it down to nothing by the end of the day. And anything that I need to push, I push into those holding folders to be answered at a later time, constantly referencing back to the holding folder so I know what items need to be taken care of, because I'm not going to end the end of the week without that holding folder being done as well too. So I am going to turn it over. I know Tom wanted to mention a few things on this kind of subject about folders, categories, tags, to the rescue, so to speak. And then I'm going to turn it over to Britt and B, who are going to briefly talk about a few things on that as well too. So yeah, Tom, let us know what you wanted to share about, this kind of subject.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremiah. Like to share Just a few, I guess, kind of my way of doing things. I always find that it's super helpful to see that, and Jeremiah sharing his folders. Then it's like, okay, I've been here a year, and Jeremiah's been here a lot longer than a year, and like seeing those kind of differences.
Would you mind, while you're sort of narrating, could you share
I'm
your
sharing.
screen?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm just
sweet.
working on that
Because
now.
I originally asked Ian about this because from a really general, I'm curious to see what people who are familiar with Outlook, like their view, what they use for the view, whether it's the classic one or whatnot, how they have their ribbon set up. I mean, all this stuff, when you click in an email thread, are you having the most recent email show up at the top, or do you scroll to the bottom? I mean, and honestly, sometimes I get into Outlook and I feel like it's changed on me. So I just adapt to a new way of doing it because I don't know how to change it back. But yeah, I want to see. Okay, so that's already different than mine. Cool. This will be good. Thank you.
And hey,
Yeah,
Tom,
no,
I'm
for
going
sure. And I think that, yeah,
I'm
go,
going to
please.
interject for a second, Tom. I'm going to just to stay on task. I'm going to keep this to 5 minutes so I can get so we make sure
All
we
right.
get to Brit and B. Just to let you know, okay?
Perfect. Timing has started. So
Okay.
I've used my folders for a lot more than just normal email management. Outlook's kind of has been my constant throughout the career. Typically, I use them to, organize, reduce clutter, keep important emails safe and in one place. This is on the cloud, so I can access this anywhere as well. So, I have things, like have my candidates, but I have my names listed out there of placements. Anything important goes in there. I have an important references tab where I put pretty much every important thing that's ever sent around in the company in here. So I have them easily accessible, whether it be looking at Curari's history, goals, mailers, incentive competitions and such. And then I've also typically always used these folders for hot lists as well, which I've just started. So my hot lists here are any candidates that I'm like talking with who are really impressive, resonate with me, could be specific to a location or such. And I'll just kind of add them in here. So in specialties, I've started a neonatology group. Any good candidate I know, I just put straight in here. And this kind of works hand in hand with RMS. And here in the States as well, I've got all the states listed out. So you can go down to New Jersey, Vane. This lady is a vascular surgeon or really wants to go in, and she's always going to be based in New Jersey. So I kind of find just simple things like this really kind of help me as well. With regards to RMS, I use the physician call lists to kind of also go in hand with the hot lists here. Category-wise, this has been like one of the biggest aiders for me personally, organization-wise. So here's my Outlook. Here's my calendar. Lots of different colors. I don't know why the categories are showing up here. So anything that's orange is a call that I have to make. Interview, I just need to be aware of. Meeting, I've got to be on, so on and so forth. So I know immediately if anything in my calendar is a orange or a blue, and sometimes a purple, I kind of have to drop everything and just focus my attention there. This also...
All right, Tom, how do you put the calendar on the right like that?
Okay, so down here, right click on the calendar, dock the peak. So that will remove it.
Okay, thank you.
And that will add it. Yeah, for sure. So to go into this tags, these categories are tags for calendars, but also emails. Normally my general trick is if something's important that I see and I need to respond to, I'll just mark it as unread. But then anything that I can't really miss, I will tag as one of these categories. So let's say you open this email up. You might not actually be able to see that. You can right click on there and categorize emails. And then when you go into the search bar at the top, I can go, let's say I need to look at all my to-dos for the day. And it'll bring up my 3 to-dos that I still have outstanding, here. So instead of having to try and remember everything. And then just finally, kind of to go in with the categories and just general email management, and something that I do to help myself is I will always put in interviews, even if I'm not responsible for setting them up. Often I will then send calendar invites, to the candidates as well. So they have this. So for instance, on November the 4th, I've tagged it as yellow, so I know that I've got to be aware of it for the day, but I don't necessarily need to action anything before the day. It's sent to the candidate. It's got all the information in here. It's got the job description in. So basically, every time I get in the morning, I look at, do I have anything yellow? If so, I'll reach out to the candidate, make sure that they're prepared for the interview and nothing's changed. So it kind of works in a few different ways. And 5 minutes.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. And you just taught me something. I didn't know that non-organizers could share their screen. So I appreciate you. That's cool that you can share your screen. I didn't realize that. So that's awesome. Now, I know B wanted to talk a little bit about, multiple folders, subfolders. B, you sent me a bunch of stuff, but did you want to, try to share your screen on that, or did you want me to share mine? What would you prefer?
I can share my screen for that, or
Okay.
I can at least try.
Awesome. So yeah,
I'm
let's
not
kind of get
quite
into
there yet.
if you need me at
Yeah.
all, let me know, but let's go on the 5
Okay. Yeah.
view
If the
and
screen sharing doesn't work out, I'll let you know. Thank you.
right, go for it.
Awesome. Well, I'll just piggyback on what Tom just talked about in terms of categories and folders. For me, I know that I can't have too many too many folders. And I get extremely granular. Now, that being said, my workflow and my priorities look very different from you guys, so I'm not really going to share my screen and show my category or show my folders. But I do want to just put that emphasis on it, especially when we all know that the Outlook search function is so tricky to use. Um, and I'll just kind of go into categories a little bit too. Again, I don't need to share my screen on this one because my workflow does look so differently. But I want to piggyback on what Tom said again, in that you can use those categories absolutely to help you with your priorities. And I think that that coincides very well with Jeremiah's emphasis on time management. I know that in terms of like leads, the leads that we receive through the email, I categorize those like red leads go first, this color goes next, this color goes next. So I know that that helps me a lot with my time management and a lot with, okay, I know what my priorities, because I can physically see what those priorities are. But I will go into kind of my third highlight here, because again, I don't think I have a whole lot more to add on folders and categories that Jeremiah and Tom haven't covered, especially because they really covered what's more relevant to you guys. But getting into that Outlook search function, you know what? I think I will have you do it, Jeremiah, because I think it'll be too hard for me to try to share this one. Can you share the searching emails screen recording for me when you get a moment? So I don't know if you guys have noticed that when you search something in Outlook, it can be notoriously difficult. You're sitting there searching, like, I know for sure that, Ashley sent me an email last week about CHS or whatever it is. And you're looking in there, you're looking up Ashley, you're looking up CHS, and you're like, where is it? It's just like not popping up anywhere. A little trick is if you click the drop down box immediately to the right of that search bar and select all mailboxes, that is going to open up your search by a long shot. And it sounds like a simple thing, but when I discovered that, it changed my life. Because it will really get into Outlook for you and make sure to look in all those nooks and crannies. So there's a screen recording that's about to come up. And I'll let you guys just take a look at that, just so you know where to find it. I use Outlook Classic personally. I know somebody asked about, I think it was Jordan. Yeah, I use Classic, but that's just because what I started with. And now when I try to use the updated version, it just doesn't work.
B, what was the one that you wanted me to share? Was it searching emails?
Searching
Okay.
emails.
Yeah, let me. So this is a clip that B shared with me.
You can see me searching, okay, like I'm looking for a mailer from Dave. I'm putting in his username and RMS. And then when I click all mailboxes, it opens up my search to everything in Outlook for me, not just what's in that current mailbox. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, cool. Well, I will move on then. Jeremiah, you're more than welcome to take that one off. Now, one little trick that I have more recently found, I don't know if you've ever needed to forward more than one email to the same person or the same location, but you can actually make those attachments. So, Jeremiah, if you want to pull up the select emails screenshot, if you already know how to select multiple emails, you can control click them or you can shift click them. So just like you would normally, you're just going to click a bunch of those emails. And then if you want to go ahead and play that attaching email screen recording, all you need to do after you've selected your emails is you just drag those over to the body of the email, just like that. And then I can send those emails all to the same person right then and there. And then when you open it, it just opens like a normal email. And this has been a really nice hack for me personally.
I'm just going to play that again for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
May I share something on this that's really pertinent for us?
Absolutely.
So I use this a lot, and I think Tina and Kim, I think you've both been on the other side of me asking for this. You know, in any disputes with clients, especially over, oh, we didn't clear this or anything like that, if you copy the email and physically paste it in an email like this, then nothing can be edited. So if you just forward an email, you can go into the previous email down there and edit dates and various other things. Yeah. So often I will email clients anything that is anything in contention. I will copy emails, paste them in like this, and then send to clients.
Yep.
So it's good to know how to do it.
Yep, absolutely. And that one has saved me a lot of headaches trying to send, Britt and I, we forward a lot of emails back and forth to each other. And this is a little trick that just makes that all the more easier. But that is definitely worth noting that you can't go back in and edit those emails when you do it this way. But that's all I have. I just had a few little highlights to share with you guys.
Yeah, thank you, B. Sorry. Yeah, thank you, B. And we're doing a lot of rapid fire, a lot of data, a lot of detail. So if there's anything that people see, like, oh yeah, I want more info on that. Whether it's talking to your managers, myself, one of the presenters. If there's anything that I know, because we're just throwing a lot out there really quick. So yeah, if there's more info that you guys need on this, reach out to one of us, please. All right, Britt, do you want? I know that you want to talk about some, filters, rules, and you just want to, take it over, please. And do you, if you want to share your screen, just go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jeremiah. Before I jump in, I just want to apologize that my webcam isn't pulled up. I was having some technical difficulties, so I'll have to troubleshoot later. So it's nice to see all of your faces at least. But I am like Jeremiah in that I don't like leaving my inbox messy. I like ending the day with it being fully cleared. And one tool that helps me do that consistently is Outlook Rules. And I have just sent you guys an email on how to make these rules. It's all step by step, so that we don't have to get bogged down with anything too technical right now. But mostly I want to go through an overview of how this helps me. And it looks like a lot of text, but once you're in Outlook, it only takes a minute or two to set up each rule, and the organization benefit you get from it lasts forever. So a rule is basically a little auto sorter that watches your inbox for you, and instead of everything landing right in your main inbox, Outlook can automatically move certain emails into a folder the minute that they arrive without you having to do anything. And then you see a little notification next to those folders to know that you have a new email, just as you would see it in your inbox. So the most common one, there are a lot of different rules that you can make. It can get pretty complicated just depending on what you want to do. But the main one that I use is the subject line one, which is if the subject line contains X keywords, it will move automatically to Y folder. So, for example, one that I have set up is for Ring Central notifications. All of those can go straight into a Ring Central folder that I have. And in the example that I sent you in the screenshots, you'll find that I set one up for CFA notifications as well. So that means that anything that has the words, let me just take a look at what exactly it said. Anything that has the words new signed CFA notification in the subject line will filter automatically into my CFA folder. And I can just go in there and see it there and not have to worry about even seeing that in my main inbox. And the benefit of this is that you're not dragging your messages around or trying to sort everything at the end of the day. Your inbox opens for you in the morning and it's already organized and you're just checking different channels. So it's like Outlook does the busy work for you on that front so that you don't have to. And for me, that cuts down on clutter and just turns my inbox into more of a to-do list instead of feeling like a storage bin that I have to sort myself. So yeah, I sent you guys that step by step. And if you have any questions, you can always let me know.
I do
Brett,
have one quick question on that, Brett. Sorry, Jeremiah.
no,
Can I
go
ask a
ahead.
question just really quick on that? Okay. Is there a way to add it to where like a domain name like all goes into one folder? So for example, I have like client folders and then I also have, name clearances that come in from our system, with the Curari group email. That is one thing. Email management, I'm glad we're having this because that's one thing I probably struggle with the most because I like an empty inbox, but then sometimes I don't get stuff moved to the appropriate place. So is there a way to set it up for a certain domain name where like all the name clearances, everything at in.Curari group, for example, would go into my name clearance folder, or everything from, Phoebe Putney's my client, their domain, it would go into a folder for Phoebe.
I would be willing to bet that there is, Evan. I have never set one up that way, but there are a lot of options on the rule creation screen. It's called the Rule Wizard when you pull it up. And I can definitely look into that a bit more and give you a more thorough answer on that. But short answer, a lot is possible with the rule tool, yes.
For sure, and I can do some hunting on that as well, and try to use Google and see what I can come up with. I'm sure there's probably a way to do that.
For sure, for sure. It sounds very useful to do it that way, absolutely.
Britt, I think this is awesome. I really do because it's, to be fully transparent, I don't use rules and I want to use rules. I think it would help with, efficiency and organization even more. So I think this is really, really awesome what you shared. Appreciate you sending the email and all the screenshots because this, truly, I think this is wonderful. And I know I'm going to be looking at this.
Yeah.
I know there's a Mac way to do this, so I'm gonna look at this really closely. I would encourage everyone else to because I think this is a really good thing. So yeah, thank you for presenting this and sharing this because I think this is a really good thing. So
You're welcome.
I'll just add also, I'll just add that I've used rules over the years to help send stuff to junk folders or deleted item folders that were just, you're getting the same spam or the same sender, same name of whatever junk mail you don't want. I've used rules to help my inbox stay uncluttered from that stuff. But yeah, rules is great, you guys. I have I'm sure Tom has this too, but all the folders we set up, you got to set up the rules so the stuff lands in those folders without having to worry about it.
yeah, and I know
And remember
that
what rules you set up so you don't miss things.
I just looked it up, and in the rules wizard, you can set specific words in the recipient's address.
Totally
Good
off
deal.
topic,
Thanks,
you guys, but I think I just discovered my new Halloween costume. I'm going to be a rules wizard.
That's awesome.
Zing. Got it. Thanks, everybody. I'll be here later.
Well, I know that B and Britt are always very, very welcome and opening to help people. So, if you have questions on whether it's folders, rules, definitely ask them because I know they're always more than willing to help. And yeah, I think like go back to the rules thing. I think it's great. Really do. So
I'm glad that you like it. I hope that it helps you guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's gonna
Thanks
help
for
me.
giving me
I
the
hope-
opportunity to show you.
No, it's going to help me, and I know it can definitely help everyone else as well. So, All right, y'all. We have about 5 minutes left, so I just want to rapid fire run down a couple things. I'm going to reference Jerry and Ian because they had told me about that this week. They're two that do not have clean inboxes. I think they were telling me they each have tens of thousands of emails in their inbox. So I know what, like Jerry was saying, and I'll let these guys talk to this if they want to, is using the search function. I know in order to find emails, I know both Jerry and Ian use the search function quite a bit because their inboxes are quite lengthy. So guys, I don't know if you want to talk at all about how you use the search function at all, but I do know that's something that each of them use quite a bit of, with their emails.
I mean, I'll keep it real brief. I mean, I think the value in a session like this, everyone is. I think you're exposed to different ideas, and I really feel the most important thing that you can take away from this is what's going to work best for you. How can you implement these tools, these tricks, these tips to help yourself be more effective, more efficient, right? For me, I use the search function all the time. I've got a pretty good memory, and so I'm able to like remember terms or phrases that I put into emails, and so that helps me hunt down stuff often when I'm looking for things. I do have a few folders, but not too many. Pretty early on in my career, I got really deep into like creating folders and rules for things, and then I couldn't find a whole bunch of my emails. So after I had that horrifying experience, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try to keep it pretty standard. I do make sure that I delete anything that is, spam. I delete anything that really isn't relevant. I do save important management emails, templates, things like that. Like I've actually got a document here I'll get out to everybody that has a lot of the email signatures that I have saved for different situations, like responding to refund requests when they don't have a refund, just all sorts of little stuff like that you can utilize. But for me, I just try to make sure that I don't let things sit and not respond to them right away. So a lot of times if I have a lot of emails, which I'm not dealing with, 1,000 emails per day like you are, Jeremiah, but I'd say probably at least 200-300 a day for me. And so I often am moving back and forth between my read and unread and using the search for that frequently when I know I'm looking for something that I might need to respond to quickly. But I just never know when I'm going to need that to reference an old email, and it's certainly helped me a ton, the fact that I don't delete them. I'm not going to share the volume of emails that I have in my inbox, but just know it's way more than what Jeremiah referenced.
I'm just going to echo what Ian said because he said it perfectly. This has even been beneficial for me, especially those rules. I mean, that could help me with a few things. However, I will share the amount of emails I have in my inbox. It currently sits, and this isn't even that high. I feel like this is a low figure. It's at 232,733, and I pretty much know exactly what's in 200,019 of those. Only 13,000 of them are I guess unopened right now, maybe. No, that's not even correct. That's not accurate. I read the deleted items. Yeah, I'd say I probably know what's in about 220,000 of those. So I got it all covered. It works. It works for me. And that's one thing I've come to find about email management is whatever works for you that allows you to continue to take the action that gets you to where you want to go. One thing that I would like to say is don't get bogged down with organization. If you find yourself organizing more in this job than you find yourself acting and getting things done, then you're putting too much time into organization, which you just got to pull it back a little bit. So this is a personalized approach to email, and I really appreciate all the different things that came to the table today. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Yeah, I think to echo Jerry's point, whatever makes you more efficient and allows you to do more stuff in a shorter period of time, I think is the thing. And absolutely echo what Jerry said is that, some what I do would work well, others what, Jerry does work. It just whatever works for you and allows you to do more stuff. In the same amount of time is what to do. Rapid fire to run down this stuff really quick. Just a few bullet points that I want to touch on for less than a minute is a couple things I found to be effective is sometimes my moods will be different throughout the day. Sometimes I'll be happy. Sometimes I'll be a little frustrated. So sometimes I'll pause my inbox and walk away for a little bit. Not all emails, like I said, have to be answered right there. And if I'm not in the headspace to answer certain emails at certain times and I need to step away, or sometimes if my brain's a little cloudy and I need to be a little bit more focused, I'll do something else. do a different task, not do something personal, but I might do a different task at work, and I may come back to the emails at a different time. Those that can be answered really quickly, boom, do it. But some that, okay, my headspace isn't there right now. I need to take a moment, take a breath, do something else, and then come back to it, whether it's to be in a better headspace or to organize my thoughts. I'll do that as well. So that's sometimes I'll just pause my inbox. Another bullet point I have is to touch it once. We're talking about some of the focused emails that we're going to put into a holding folder that, okay, we need to be more focused on that, or that has to be answered at a later time. You can't open it and respond. But if I can, I will look at the email and respond right there. And if I can't, that gets moved into the holding folder. But whenever I'm opening an email, if I can, I'll answer it right there. And then let's see if there's anything else in here. I know there is I'm not an expert in doing this, so if anyone else knows how to do this, I put it as a bullet point. I don't do this, but I'm sure there's a way to do it, is to schedule specific emails to go out at specific times. I know sometimes that there's a time and place where you can schedule emails to go out at certain times, instead of answering right there, but there is a place for that. I don't do it. I just know that when researching it and talk to other people, I know people utilize that function where they can schedule emails at certain times in the day or days in the future. If anyone wants to comment on that at all, I'll give them a moment to do that. But I do know that's a huge thing that I researched that people do a lot. I personally don't do it. I just know it's a thing. If anyone wants to comment on that, I'll give them a minute to do that.
I have a quick question for you. When you say schedule, other than like, hey, this is when I'm going to do this, is there a feature in Outlook where I could type something up and have it sent out at a certain time that's not a big mailer, like that's going through B or Brittany?
Yeah, that is something that I was kind of referring to, is that, yeah, I think there's a way to do that where I know, like, there's a way to do it in text messaging. I don't know if there's a way to do it, in Office at Hand, or Ring Central, excuse me. Office at Hand is the old one. Ring Central, I know, like with my personal emails, I can schedule, or personal texts, I can schedule those to go out at certain times. I don't know if there's a way to do that in Ring Central, but I know there's a lot of times where I want to send a text out. It's early in the morning, and that person does not, candidate does not want to receive a text at that time, but I might want it to go out. I don't want to lose my train of thought. I want that text to go out a couple hours later. And so I've never used that function, but I don't know if that's available in Ring Central. I know it's available in personal texts, but yeah, if anyone has any thoughts on how to schedule emails for a later time,
in Outlook, it's called delay delivery.
Delay delivery. I don't know when you would use that. I just know there's probably a time and place to use that.
Right.
Set up a reminder for an impending phone call.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's it's under options in Outlook, and it's called delay delivery, and it's just some things you can mess with there for that.
Delay
It's not
delivery.
email. I think the one dead communication is a fax, and I do recall this one time where a person quit a job and they sent out a real famous fax, and they set it to go out after they left the organization, like a day later. Do you remember that one, Ian? I forget who sent it, but it was a
I sure do.
nationwide
That was
thing.
to their,
It made it to like
to
it made it
someone
to
they
like
really respected, Michael Gallo, I think.
it was a viral moment where they
FU1.
sent it to like every client in America of this big company. It was really
Our company
crazy.
got it.
We got
Our
it, yeah.
company got it. It said "F you moron" in black, and it came on all our faxes.
Yeah,
That's
and
what I'm
it
talking
said
about.
sincerely
So,
Michael Gallo, and he was like the
Gallo.
CEO of some organization. And even when you went to their website, they had to like post on their website like, "We understand some of you may have received a fax. We did not authorize that communication."
So we're gonna ask you to not use the delayed method in any form like that. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll try.
I don't know how.
No mic drops for delayed.
I think I ran across Michael Gallo at a later time. I don't remember how I did, what I did. I just remember at some point I ran across Michael Gallo at, I don't know, online or something. I don't remember. But and then the last
Fine.
bullet point I have is to schedule a time to review and clean your entire email. So I mean, sometimes if there's whatever that may be, going through your folders. Sometimes, like Ian was saying, organizationally, you can have too many folders. You can have too much stuff that, that can bog things down or forgotten or whatever it may be. So occasionally I'll try not to have too many folders. I'll try to have just most necessary folders, but then occasionally I'll go through those folders and just like, is there anything I'm missing here? What needs to be cleaned out? So I might dedicate an hour a month, every other week, something like that, where I'm just kind of going through all those folders. It could be the rules, it could be templates, it could be whatever, to maybe eliminate things that are no longer necessary and to refine, to make sure, I think kind of going back to Jerry's point, where you're not overloaded with too much stuff, where you're constantly dwindling down to only what's necessary, to the necessary folders, the necessary rules, the necessary signatures. And if you're not going through and cleaning that out occasionally, it will overload. So that's the other thing I would encourage. Once, twice a month, maybe just go through, look through your email, delete what doesn't need to be there, such as folders, rules, signatures, so you can keep it as streamlined and efficient as possible to ultimately get you back to what you're really trying to do and to get as much activity going, to get as much stuff moving. And I think to kind of land the plane here, when email can be utilized most effectively, it's when it kind of adds to improving time management, improving your efficiency and productivity, to be able to do more, to be able to do it more efficiently, and ultimately end up leading to more placements. So, yeah. So like I mentioned in the chat, if there was anything that people saw, like, yeah, I want to utilize that, I need to understand that better, reach out to one of us. And I know all of us will be more than happy to help in any way when it comes to this email topic. In closing, I know that we're going to have a week off. Jerry, do you have a topic for your November 7th talk yet, or is that to be determined?
TBD. If anybody has something they want to throw at me, throw it at me, and I'll build off of it. Thank you.
Cool. And then, yeah, so that's Gerald will be our next presenter, not next week, but the following week. Have Halloween off. And before we depart, anyone have any questions on this? Anything else that you wanted to bring up?